Hello, Capricorn. Welcome to Soul Good. I'm Amber Marie, and this is your November 2021 Tarotscope. Before we jump in, I would like to share with you that according to numerologist.com, the month of November is really a month of introspection. It's a huge me month, right? Really taking time for yourself, going into bits of solitude to explore your life mission and why, right? Why you do what you do. What are the whys behind your purpose and your motivations, right? And it's really this important month of self growth and spiritual enlightenment, right? So, that being said, I've decided to use the Starseed Oracle and the Work Your Light Oracle for these readings. I consider them to be a kind of soul speak, right? These decks for me bring messages from the depths and really allow us the opportunity to explore things in a more, let's say, I don't want to say esoteric, but in a more spiritual type of way, right? It really allows us to see different facets of self that maybe we weren't privy to before. And by privy, I just mean maybe we weren't aware or ready to accept or acknowledge those bits of information. So I'm also using the Work Your Light deck as well to clarify the reading. These cards have a very similar vibe as the Starseed Oracle, and I look at them very much as complementary to that soul speak, right? So we're going to be doing a 3 card spread where we'll be looking at the beginning, middle, and end of the month for you. All right, so let's take a peek, shall we? Please, universe, spirits, guides, angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, what can you tell me about the beginning of November 2021 for Capricorn? What's going on in the beginning of November 2021 for Capricorn, please? Beginning of, excuse me, okay, we have 1 card over here that's face up and 1 face down. So I'll be taking the face up card. We have deep cellular healing, Arcturus energy, physical and emotional healing. Okay. I will share with you that this message has come through several readings for the month, week, or day in my membership readings. And then I believe this has also come through in some of the other zodiac signs readings for this month as well. I do feel like the month of November is a big healing month for the collective in general, because we are, being encouraged as far as the planetary bodies are concerned, and this being a universal 7 month, to really look at self and dissect why we are the way we are, why we do what we do, um, and spend that time to ourself. And I feel like in doing that and spending that time to self, we uncover certain bits of ourself that maybe we didn't recognize before, and that encourages healing, right? When we release what doesn't serve us, we make room for other things and heal in and at the same time, right? So the beginning of the month for you, Capricorn, may look like some deep physical and emotional healing, perhaps even healing that you're unaware of. We have had come up in our membership readings that there is likely a lot of integration, healing, and downloading of information that is going on beneath the surface, right? So, not something that is tangible to us, right? It's not something that we've noticed that healing in maybe just yet, but it's happening, right? So, this may not be something you've noticed, but the beginning of the month could look like some healing for you. Let's look at the middle of the month. What can you tell me about the middle of November 2021 for Capricorn, please? What can you tell me about, thank you, you are not alone, isolation, physical connection, community? Wow. That's pretty fascinating. Pretty fascinating. You know, it's fascinating because here we're talking about this month of November really being about having that solitude, right? That time to yourself. And, you know, I get the feeling, Capricorn, that although that isolation, right, essentially, that solitude is essential for some conversations with ourselves and for discovery of certain things. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be alone, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you are alone, right? Um, when we go through some of these deep healings, oftentimes we tend to withdraw. You know, it's kind of like that dark night of the soul. Perhaps this is that for you, Capricorn. But we tend to withdraw and try to sort things out on our own. That is the masculine side of ourself, which we do have, you know, both masculine and feminine energies, regardless of your gender. And so, you know, that is a very masculine type of thing, which we have within us all, is to take time to process, separate, you know, from the noise, if you will, of daily life, of friendships, of all of these types of things, and really allow ourselves the time to let things sink in, to come to an understanding, to be okay with what has occurred, right? So, you know, just because, you know, if this is your story, Capricorn, in the middle of the month, if you feel that need to be withdrawn, it doesn't mean you're alone, right? Just to point that out. So what about the end of the month? What about the end of November 2021 for Capricorn, please? Wow, that was fast. You guys, this has shown up in this position for so many readings. We have the Seas of Mintaka, seeing potential, bringing unconsciousness to light. This has shown up, I cannot tell, in tons of the readings for my membership group, which I do monthly, weekly, and daily readings for. And this has also shown up in some of the other zodiac from what I remember. So I think this is a common theme amongst the collective, right? Or rather, it falls right in line with the theme that I've been witnessing. So the this Seas of Mintaka and bringing unconsciousness to light, what I want to share with you is when we think about the light, if you look at a lot of the mainstream metaphysical communities, when they talk about light, it's usually about like love and positivity, right? But when I speak of light, in most cases, now that's not to say that light, or rather, I don't refer to light as, you know, someone being of light, you know, so they're a happy person. They spread positivity and, you know, are genuinely just a good feeling type of individual. Um, but when I think of light, more often than not, it's more so of, if you think of it as being in a pitch black room and you're holding a flashlight, and whatever you shine that light on, you are now aware of, right? That is how I look at light. Okay. That is, I mean, and I'm not the only one. Okay. So it's not something that I'm like trademarking or anything. Light, you know, when you bring unconsciousness to light, it is that recognition, right? Or that information that you didn't have before. That's it. And when you spend, I'm going to get out clarifiers for you, Capricorn, but I just want to share this with you. Because when I look at these cards and the energy coming, and I kind of sift through the energy that's coming in for me. Your reading looks a lot like the beginning of the month has some deep healing going on, whether you're aware of it or not. The middle of the month calls for that more stepping back and allowing these things to integrate, to really process, to really discover some of those layers that have now been exposed by this deep healing. And then at the end of the month, because this light has been shed or has now started to be shed on, because you've spent time alone examining and exploring, it's almost as if the end of the month you now start to have more of this awareness take place, more of these things being brought to the light, which then allows you to see the potential in certain situations or in certain relationships or paths that you're looking to, venture out on, and seeing that potential from a new perspective with that light you've been given. Does that make sense? That's how this is looking. Now, I'm going to get clarifiers out, but just from the get-go, that's the message that's coming through. And I wanted to be sure to share that with you. The bottom of the deck here is the golden children, inner child, tenderness, innocence, rare gifts. Okay. Often I look at the bottom of the deck as what is hidden beneath the surface, right? So it may not necessarily be something we're readily aware of, or maybe we aren't considering, right? But it's being brought to our attention nonetheless. All right, so let's get some clarity. What can you tell me, please? Universe, spirits, guides, angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, about the beginning of November 2021 for Capricorn and this deep healing that they've experienced. What can you tell me? Thank you. Okay. We have Lemuria, creating heaven on earth. It's happening. Lemuria, actually is how I think you say that. I'm going to look in my book. You guys, I love these cards. I've had them for about a year, a little over that, I think. Maybe a bit longer, actually. Oh wow, it may be closer to, yeah, about a year. And they're very easy for me to read typically. But I haven't used them in quite some time. I was featuring a different deck for a while, and working on developing my tarot skills. So I do want to check on that Arcturus energy and just really see what that energy pertains to specifically, so that I can get a better idea of how this Lemuria card plays in. Lemuria. Yeah, that's how I think you say that. Because right off the bat, the feeling that I get is that this energy, this healing is creating that peace within, right? So even though this card talks about, oops, sorry guys, talks about creating heaven on earth, more than anything, I get that feeling of that balance, that peace that's found through that healing, creating, pardon me, more of that heavenly type of peace within. I hope that makes sense. Let me just check the book really quickly on this Arcturus energy. All right, I'm going to read this to you guys. It's a little bit lengthy, so bear with me for a moment. But I want to help you to understand what I mean by this creating heaven on earth and how it relates to this deep cellular healing card. So I'm just going to hold this up for you and go ahead and read this. All right, so it says, your body knows how to heal. Healing is your natural state. Physical and emotional disharmony can be a reflection of how the world, inner and outer, has been out of alignment. If you're suffering from a mystery or chronic illness, don't allow yourself to think you've done something wrong. Today, it's difficult to navigate our health. If this card has made its way to you, you're being called to focus on your healing in practical ways, to prioritize your health, to be kind and tender to your miraculous body, to give yourself the grounding and care you need, to put your body first, to nourish yourself as you would a newborn baby, to treat yourself with tender care. You may be called to switch things up with your body or your emotional well being, to call in a team of helpers to support you in navigating any challenges you may be experiencing emotionally. The Arcturians are a galactic group of beings who have mastered deep cellular and emotional healing. They want you to know that it's possible to feel vibrant in your body and well in your skin, to have your cells return to effervescence and vitality, to find calmness and contentedness, to have a soothed nervous system and a tranquil heart. Now, there is an activation here, which I'll share with you, and you can choose to use if you decide. This it does ask for the card to be placed on your heart space, but I think if you just set the intention, then that will be suitable. Right, so maybe set the intention and place your hands on your heart to bring your awareness to that space and whisper the following: I take back my vitality and energy and feel more and more healthy each and every day. My body knows how to heal. My body knows how to heal. Okay, now the reason why I shared that with you is because I feel like this healing that's occurring, right? And you may have been called or felt called to pay more attention to your body and your health, right? I know for me, the even though I haven't really been listening, that call for drinking more water has been there for sure. Um, and the call to do other things related to my health and my own personal life have shown up for me, even though I'm a Leo sun, but I'm a Capricorn rising, right? So I feel like this has shown up in my own reality as well. And I feel like this card has shown up and it's been clarified by this Lemuria creating heaven on earth, because in paying attention to our own health and making sure that we're showing ourselves that same love and care, think about it this way, guys. You're probably not going to skimp out on your oil changes in your car, right? Why? Because it will break down the functionality of your vehicle, right? Eventually, your vehicle will no longer function. So think about it the same way. Why would you not show yourself that same love and healing and repair and all of that you show to your vehicles or your home, right? Or, maybe you consider highly what you feed your children, but, maybe it's not something that you promote for yourself. Right now, I mean, again, this doesn't have to be necessarily the focus on your body, your physical body. It may very well be that focus on the emotional side of things and doing some healing work there. But nonetheless, I feel like this focus was here or has been here in the middle of, or the beginning of the month, excuse me. And in doing that, it can bring this balance that can create this almost heaven within, this peaceful environment within self, right? Because we've healed some things and gotten rid of some of, I don't know why I'm getting it this way, but rid of some of the jagged edges is what I'm hearing. That's an interesting way to put things. Maybe that's for somebody specific, or will, click something within someone else. I don't know. But, I really feel like this healing may start to create that peace within, right? And what's going on the middle of the month for Capricorn? We have this "you're not alone" with isolation and community. What can you tell me for Capricorn and the middle of November 2021 for them not being alone and isolation having. Okay, thank you. We have "dance with life, do something to change your energy." This card has shown up several times in this position as well. What's fascinating about this, Capricorn, is in the middle of the month, right around the middle, we do have a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, which really asks us to look at our self-worth. Okay, but there's that, indication of what potentially could be a full moon on the other side of that doorway there. Now, here's the thing, Capricorn, for some reason I get the feeling that you may have had some like unhealthy relationships, right? Perhaps where there's a bit of codependency, maybe a bit of people pleasing. And this could even be like doing more to please others or to live up to some kind of standard or expectation that you've set for yourself or that you have taken on as a belief of your own, right? But I get this feeling, Capricorn, that it's like, it feels like this need, I almost get this feeling as this "you're not alone" card, as instead of it, how do I word this? It feels like it's more of that need to be alone, that need for that solitude. I'm going to look at this card really quickly in the book. Give me one sec, guys. All right. You guys, I read cards intuitively. Okay. So sometimes parts of messages and cards come through. Sometimes it's pictures that I pick up that are more relevant, right? It just, again, I read intuitively. But there are times that I do check the guidebooks for threads of information and just, deeper things, just to provide a more dynamic aspect to the energy that I'm getting. Now, it's fascinating to me because the book definition of what I'm picking up doesn't really match, right? Or the book definition, excuse me, doesn't really match what I'm picking up intuitively. That being said, I do feel here that it's like there's two stories. One may be that you're just constant, it's almost in constant giving energy to others. Now, whether that's your time, your energy, whether it's a business, whether it's a relationship, whether it's family, I don't know, but it feels like that constant giving. Now, that being said, I feel like if that is your story here, I feel like the message is to instead step back, show yourself some of that same attention, and change your energy in that way, right? Being a Capricorn rising myself and having a Capricorn father, I do know that what I noticed is that incredible, it's a, I don't even know how to describe it. It is like that willingness to pour and empty our cup completely, to finish something, right? To adhere to our word, to complete a job or a project or whatever. A lot of times we'll completely pour ourselves into stuff. And so I really get this feeling of stepping back and giving ourselves some of that same love and attention and focus and drive, right? And change our energy in that way. Now, on the opposing side, or an opposite side of the story, could be that you have this kind of old soul vibe where you're comfortable being alone. It doesn't bother you. It's quite okay, right? You're perfectly content being on your own. And now, if that is you, right, if that's your story, Capricorn, in the middle of the month, now please consider as I'm speaking about this, as this being the middle of the month, okay? So if in the middle of the month, you find yourself giving, or maybe perhaps that occurred in the beginning of the month, and transpired through to the middle of the month, perhaps look at yourself and consider giving yourself, or giving to yourself in the same fashion that you give to everyone and everything else. Putting that same amount of effort and work into self. If this is the middle of the month for you and you're more so in this energy of needing or being alone, rather, okay? If you're more in the energy of being alone in the middle of the month and finding great comfort in that, you feel comfortable. Maybe you don't necessarily feel like getting out and about, or being in community, or that sort of thing. This is more the call for you to actually instead step out into that energy and step out into the community. As much as you like being alone, we aren't meant to experience this life on our own. Okay. Now it's not a problem being alone. It's just, here's the thing, Capricorn, if this is your story, being alone has a downfall to it. Sure, you avoid the absorbing the energies of other people. Sure, you avoid the noise and chaos of the world and this and that. But the problem with that is that we have a soul team or tribe with whom we are meant to connect with at various points in this lifetime, that have downloads and information for us along our journey that's imperative for our journey. And so you can't receive that if you're not out and about in the world, right? It can't find you in that way. And so you almost deny yourself those next steps, right? By isolation. So if that's your story, I feel it's weird, right? Because this month is really about, it talks about solitude and things like that. But I feel like, if that's your story, if you've been alone, you may want to consider venturing out. Maybe wait until more toward the end of November, right? If you don't feel comfortable or ready to do that just yet. But I feel like the middle of the month is really going to highlight for you changing your energy, either by getting out into community or kind of retreating back from community. Either way, I feel that there's value in it and there are things to learn. Okay, but I would encourage you that if you are getting out amongst community, to also find balance and take the time to give yourself the opportunity to process and be alone as well, so you're able to hear your own thoughts and able to process what you've experienced. All right, so what can you tell me about the end of November for Capricorn, please? What is this potential that we may be seeing, and what is being brought to light, please? What can you tell me about the Seas of Mintaka and the end of November 2021 for Capricorn? Thank you. Wow, did you see that? Pleiades, double mission, channeling and uplifting humanity. This has been in this position for several readings as well. Here's the thing, guys. Firstly, I want to share with you that I'm fairly certain that Mintaka, there's the myth behind Mintaka is that it was a planet primarily composed of water that existed somewhere out in the cosmos, and that planet was destroyed. And the Mintakans were dispersed amongst the stars on, in different planetary bodies. Um, and, so they, essentially long for their home. So that's that story. And then the Pleiades, if you look that up in mythology, there are several stories about the Pleiades, but there's also several connections to ancient culture. And that, for example, oh my gosh, I cannot even remember what the specific culture is at this point. But there are ancient cultures that have connection with the Pleiades constellation, and they saw it as the place that their gods came from. Oh, I know. Thank you. The Cherokee Indian is one of them, right? So there are stories about this. Now, I find that interesting, right? Because it's the end of the month, and both of these places, the Pleiades and Mintaka, have these mythological stories attached to them. It's just an interesting fact, right? Just something I'm pointing out. But really, to me, when I look at this reading, Capricorn, and I look at the end, it's almost as if it's coming into that. When I think of the Pleiades and Mintaka, I think of ancient wisdom, right? So it's almost as if the end of the month you come to this space of being exposed or becoming aware of this ancient wisdom that you possess within you. And what's fascinating here is we have seeing the potential, right? And the Pleiades card here represents double mission, channeling and uplifting humanity. Now, what I find fascinating is that you may start to see again this like ancient wisdom, the soul side of yourself, right? As Capricorns, we're fairly earthly, fairly practical, right? Very, how do I word this? What's the word? Yeah. It's like you're practical and strategic and very logic and that sort of thing. And so like looking at this way may be very interesting for you, right? Because it asks you to see more of the spirituality and the more of the esoteric type of thing. But I feel the end of the month for you may have this effect where you're stepping into this double mission that you have, both as a human, okay, and as a soul. You have things that you're meant to accomplish and learn as a soul, but you also have to be a human on this planet, right? You have to take care of your human vessel. You have to sleep and eat and shower and, go to work and make money and all of these other things. So it's like, I almost feel like there could potentially be this marrying of the more practical side of yourself, which is like taking care of your human and making sure that the things are all done that need to be done, and taking the ancient wisdom that you possess by being a soul, an eternal soul that has likely had many experiences across many different realms and planets and universes and galaxies, um, and taking that wisdom and marrying the two together, um, to how do I word that, or what am I looking for here? It's utilizing the knowledge that you have as a human being and being practical and responsible and driven and all of that with the more esoteric and the more spiritual side of it, and using that ancient wisdom and knowledge to help your human, right? To create that path, to help you to create the reality that you want to experience by utilizing all of the tools available to you, which seems very Capricorn to me, actually. Um, Interesting. The bottom of this deck is the crumbling. What are you clinging to? So this is what would be the equivalent for me of the Tower card in the tarot. So here's what's fascinating about the bottom of the deck, right? I typically look at the bottom of the deck as what is beneath the surface. Again, what we don't see, what's going on underneath, right? But still needs our attention nonetheless. It's almost like maybe we're too busy to notice these things. So we have with the Starseed Oracle, the golden children, inner child, tenderness, innocence, rare gifts. Now, both of these have, a doorway on them, which is it's standing out to me, right? So that tells me we're in this transitionary stage, Capricorn, going from one way of being into another, potentially. The other part is that I find interesting is that I referred to earlier as like jagged, we're like getting rid of like the jagged edges. And this Tower card definitely has what appears to be some jagged edges, right? And I feel like what are you clinging to? Now, when I think Capricorn, from what I know of the Capricorns that I have experienced, I'm sorry guys, I had an alarm going off. What I've experienced with Capricorns is this. It is this, you guys, I'm saying this so lovingly, and being a Capricorn rising myself, there's uh this rigidness to Capricorn in my experience. That's very much like things should be this way, right? Um, of course, various planetary bodies in your chart and where they are and all of that does play into this, right? So maybe you're not a rigid Capricorn. I don't know. But there's this kind of rigid type of mentality about the ones that I've met. And I think that what's being highlighted here is to, right, what are we clinging to? I think that the message here is to instead embrace the less rigid, right? That tenderness. I feel like it's more about being open to different modalities, right? To different solutions, right? There being alternative methods to problem solving than what you've experienced before. Because it feels like to me, what we are clinging to is the behavior, right? That almost that rigid behavior. And it feels like we're being asked to instead embrace that tender, innocent, more childlike mentality and be open to potential, right? Because here's the thing, Capricorn, um, if you're fucking rigid in your ways of thinking and you're trying to open a business and have a successful business and that has all of these moving parts, you have to be open, right? Things aren't always going to go the way that you anticipate. You're going to have to be able to pivot and think on your toes and look outside the box for alternative method, right? And that's what I feel is going on here is more of a loosening of that rigidness about, the way that you think and move through your life and allowing that more tender side, that more compassionate, that more oh yeah, not everything needs to be seen the way that I see it or done the way that I feel like it should be done, right? There's room there for experiment. There's possibility or potential in alternative solutions, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be this way or that way. It could also be, somewhere in between. So again, I mean, This is a general reading, Capricorn. And you'll know whether this is your story or not. You'll know if this resonates with you or not. If it doesn't, okay, that's fine. Also, just in case, um, one part of the reading may resonate and another part may not, right? It just depends on you and your story and where you are in it, okay? So please keep that in mind. This is what I have for you for the month of November, Capricorn. I hope that this has been valuable or enlightening, or at the very least, maybe a little entertaining. Um, and I hope that you're able to navigate the month maybe just a little bit easier with this information, right? Um, I would like to share with you that there are links in the description box below for the Soul Good Facebook page, the Soul Deep podcast, which is available on many platforms, all listed in the description box. There's also a group on the Soul Good Facebook page, which you can find using the Facebook link. There's also information on where you can go to get personal readings on the Facebook page under the Book Now section. And there is also information on the monthly membership on Telegram that you can find in the About section. So, please feel free to like this video, share it if you would like to, and subscribe if you want notifications for when more videos are posted. I would like to thank you so much for being here and giving me the opportunity to speak to your soul today. It is really something that I truly love to do, and I'm so grateful that I am given this opportunity by people like you who show up to take a listen. So, again, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully, I will see you on the Facebook page. If not, that's okay too. Maybe I'll see you in another reading. Until then, take care of your lovely soul, and I will see you next time. Bye.